Good afternoon, folks. This is Gus Guevara. I'm with the Virtual Taphouse, and we are back after a 2-week break. Um, we're here at beautiful Kennay Farms Distillery in Rochelle, Illinois, and we're here with the owner and the master distiller, and we're going to walk you through a spirits tasting with them this afternoon. So stand by, and we'll be coming at you in a few seconds. All right, folks, welcome to the Kennay Farms Distillery. I'm Gus Guevara, I'm your virtual host. We're here with Adam Kennay, the head distiller, and Rick Kennay, the distillery owner. We're going to go through a series of 3 spirits tastings, and then stick around. We're going to go through another 4 beer reviews for them, because a lot of you out there don't seem to realize that they brew beer also. All right, so let's take it away. Adam, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Okay. Hello, I'm Adam Kennay. I spent 4 years active duty in the Army. After the Army, I got out and I went to Northern Illinois University right here. I have a degree in biology and a minor in chemistry. While I was going to school, I got to work on Uncle Rick's farm. That paid my wages. The Army kicked in a little bit, but needed some spending money. Then after I was going to be a high school science teacher. However, right when I graduated, the ethanol plant opened up here in Rochelle, and I was their lab manager for 3 years, and then I was their production manager for 4 years. So in 7 years, I probably distilled about 700 million gallons worth of alcohol. And then in 2013, Uncle Rick wanted me to come back to the farm and to help expand the farm, and also we had an idea of maybe starting a craft distillery. And after a couple discussions, we made the plan. I then attended Moonshine University, which is a real school. That's where I learned how to make things taste, like they're supposed to taste, and learned some of the rules of the tools of the trade. I also took a gin class down there, and then right now we are distilling. We have our vodka, we have our gin, and we have our rye.
All right, we'll come back about this Moonshine University. All
It is real, I promise.
All right, Rick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Rick, and then my wife and I, we bought this theater in 2016. We kind of say this is an extension of our farm. We're 6th generation farms. We love to add value to our commodities, which primarily is corn. We have 3 children. They're all actively involved with the farming business, the distilling business. I also worked for 35 years for DuPont in development and sales.
So how did you wind up here, where you're at?
My wife and I looked at several buildings in several towns. We needed, we wanted something, historic, something really nice. So we looked at several downtowns. We knew we wanted to be downtown in several different towns. We looked at the building 2 or 3 times, and there was something to this building that kept bringing us back here. So I basically bought it and then went home and told my wife that we just bought a theater. So
That's awesome.
That's how it happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us a little bit about the theater. Tell us where the origins is. How'd you guys come across it?
Sure. It was built in 1926. It was on the Lincoln Highway, obviously. It was a live theater, held 1,000 people. When I say live, it was staged, and the actors and actresses would put on a live performance. The movies came somewhat later, I imagine mid-30s. Then, I don't think what else about the theater.
Well, I said the stage. Well,
Yeah.
the stage was pretty cool. Underneath
Yeah.
there, a bunch of tunnels. You could tell like the old school stuff. When we were remodeling it, what'd you find, a wallet?
Yeah, there you go. Down in the basement, they had there's a live stage, so the actors and actresses would be down below, and there was an orchestra pit in front of it, so there was all kinds of neat tunnels and things where the actors and actresses would come up. The downstairs, under the stage, was called the kissing room, because the actors and actresses would practice kissing, and then come up and do their performance.
So, is this a historical landmark, or?
No, we were going to do that, get a registered historic landmark, but that came with a lot of caveats that we thought it was best if we didn't have to work through a lot of those. We did take the theater and completely remodel it, so we took it down to its barest forms, and then we were very fortunate. The original plasterer grandson, he came to work for us for 2 years, and he did all the plastering back to its original form, which was really nice. He had some of the molds that his great-grandfather had.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you guys actively look for him, or he just kind of showed up one day?
No, he showed up one day, quite by accident. It was an amazing story. He showed up one day and didn't really announce who he was, and he came to one of our construction meetings, and I really didn't know who he was. He sat kind of in the corner, and I finally asked my wife, said, "Who is that?" And he said, "Well, that's the grandson of the original man who did the plastering." And he worked for 2 years, day and night, and just basically rebuilt all the ornate plastering work in this theater. It's a very amazing story. It's a fun story, but...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, like, from day one construction, how long did it take you guys to get it up and going?
At least 3 years.
That's
wow.
what I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
2 to 3, everything ran together because we built the Rick House right next door. And so the distillery got completed, but we were still working on the Rick House. I would probably say, 3 years.
3
probably.
years. We did a lot of the initial tear out, but then we hired an architect and hired all union labor. And it was, once they were involved and the architects, it was probably 2.5 years of actually just building. Because it had to evolve. It was kind of a grand plan, but a lot of it evolved. So.
All right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell the viewers about your distillery, the actual equipment that you guys are using.
Okay, yeah. So I have, what you guys, can they see it behind us? Can you see it on the camera?
Kind of, sorta.
Okay. It's a 28-foot tall continuous column. It's kind of like, it's called a stripping column. And then once it goes through the stripper, then it goes into a doubler, all right? And the doubler adds your polish to the product. Then it comes over, and usually I come out of the doubler about 135 proof, come out of the stripper about 125 proof, and then that is actually what your whiskey would be. You'll take that raw product, cut it down. We go in the barrel at 110 proof, and then I cut it down to 110, you can put it in the barrel, all right? So, however, if I'm gonna make vodka or gin, I'll take that 135 proof, I cut it down to 100 proof, and then I distill up to 190 proof, and if you can see that column right there behind me, that is a pot still with a column hybrid on top, 20 plate column, and that's a vodka and gin still.
All right, so from start to finish, how long does a run take you?
So if I'm just distilling, like let's say I've already done the cooking, I've already fermented everything, it usually takes about 9 to 10 hours to do 3,000 gallons, if that makes sense. And then I'll end up with probably about 350, 320, 135 proof gallons.
Interesting.
And then if I'm doing a vodka run, that takes about 8 hours, and I'll usually end up with about 120 gallons of 190 proof.
So where do you guys source your ingredients from?
So the grain, we grow all the corn. We're looking into growing all the grain ourselves. The yeast, that comes from, actually there's a distillery down in Kentucky called Wilderness Trails, and they actually have their own yeast company. That's how they got their start. And so I buy my yeast and enzymes from him. And then the only other thing we really source, when I make gin, I will source the GNS, that's that 192 proof stuff, only because it's just quicker and easier. Rather than put it through the vodka still once and then have to do it again, you can buy the GNS on the open market. That's the only things we really source.
All right, well, we'll get into this later on, but you guys, obviously you guys have just started distilling within the last, 2, 3, 4 years?
Well, one,
One?
no, 1.5 years. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So when does the bourbons and stuff like that start pumping out? Within the next 4 or 5 years?
So bourbon can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Kind of depends. With our bourbon, it's a wheated bourbon. Our goal is a nice sweet bourbon. We might get that out in 3 years.
Okay, so but you guys do have stuff aging right now.
Correct. Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And the rye that you see, that has aged for about 15 months. But this actually only aged for 7 months. When we tasted that, it was a nice, soft, sweet rye. So we got that. I have another batch of rye that we're aging. We might dump that in 18 months. So that's coming. So it'll be another release.
All right, let's get into tasting some of this stuff now. So let's start out with the vodka. If you hold that up and show the people the bottle, see what they're missing.
Yep. Can they see it?
Yeah, they can see it.
Okay.
Awesome. So tell me about the vodka.
It's vodka, 100% corn. All right, so this is our grain. In fact, for a while I was still planting and harvesting on the farm, so I know I planted half the corn, Caleb planted the other half, and I know I helped harvest the corn. 100% corn vodka we make ourselves. I ferment the vodka 3-4 days. You're up to about 7 or 8% alcohol. Then I run it through distillation. Once I come out of the vodka still, I'm at 190 proof, like I said. And then I try to hit like 190.5 proof, makes it just a little cleaner. I'll cut that down to 100 proof. Then I run it through an activated charcoal filter. It's a custom-made filter. It holds about 3 cubic feet of activated carbon. And that puts a final polish on. The vodka was already sweet, but that actually adds a little bit of that smoothness to it. And then after I run it through the charcoal filter, then I will cut it down to 80 proof, and then that's what you have, is our vodka.
So you're 80 proof.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Rick, approximately how much of the corn do you guys use for out of your land for the distillery? Do you use it all, or?
No, we don't use it all. Like I said, I've been looking to add value to my corn for generations. So we do feed a lot of livestock, so that takes a lot of my corn. But about probably 10 to 15% of the corn that I raise goes towards this distillery. And I wouldn't say it's a real special corn, but we hand select it, so we get it's an earlier corn, so it's dried at a much lower temperature, so we don't get any stress cracks. And then we clean it really well before it comes into the distillery.
All right. So what do you mean by cleaning it?
It's run through a fan and a shaker pan that filters out all the cracked kernels, filters out all the corn cobs. That goes one direction, and I feed that to my livestock. This is the whole kernel corn without any stress cracks at all.
Is this a type of equipment that you've had to get before the distillery, or you've been using it before?
We've been using it before. With my livestock, I don't clean the corn, but with this, I'm very careful that I do clean the corn, because you don't want, my distiller has told me numerous times, no foreign material. We want just the starch, just the whole kernel of corn. So luckily, I have enough livestock that we can feed what we don't bring in here. And then to take it one step further, you didn't ask this question, but I want to answer something you never asked, is all the mash that's left over at the end of a run, that also goes back and feeds my livestock.
Okay, awesome.
So we complete the circle.
Circle of life, we like to call it.
Yeah, I'm very surprised how much of the corn taste comes through on this vodka.
Yep.
It's very clean.
And like I said, I think it's got a nice sweet taste to it, That's also, it's very smooth in my opinion. And that's where I really liked our vodka, especially the carbon filtration really puts that final polish on.
All right, do you guys sell these bottles out of the distillery? Do you do curbside service or anything like that right now, or?
Both.
Both?
If,
Okay.
if somebody wants to drive up, obviously we will sell it, but the majority of our customers will come in, especially after they've tried it just straight like this. I mean, a lot of people don't drink straight vodka, but I always encourage it because I want them to taste it. 9 times out of 10, once they taste it, they will buy a bottle.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room real quick. Both you guys. We'll start with Adam. How has COVID affected your job?
So honestly, I don't deal with the general public that much. So it hasn't, that, I should take that back. I do, but I'm not out there like Rick is, meeting and greeting people all the time. But for me, some supply chains got disrupted, you know. Obviously, our production schedule changed, all right? Because, to be honest, everything's kind of slowing down, right? So we didn't want to keep producing. You know, you never want to overproduce, so we had to kind of scale back some production. And so, honestly, and like I said, supply chain issues, trying to get even a pump broke down. I tried to get a part for that pump. It took me 5 extra days because no one was quite sure who to call because this crisis. No, you know, people working from home were not sure what department's doing what, you know, and so things like that. And like it's just, it has definitely had a pretty big impact, honestly, especially the production schedule.
All right, Rick. Before we get to you, how did you guys? You guys are obviously the first round of COVID. Were one of the first distilleries out there to do the hand sanitizer. How'd you guys come up with that decision, and how much did you guys put out?
We started that Wednesday night. Every distillery in the United States got the same email, phone call, communication. It said, you can make hand sanitizer. This is the recipe. I think that was like 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night. By 1 second after 7 o'clock, I called my distiller. I said, what do I need, what quantities, and where can I buy it? So immediately, by 7:05, I was on the phone that night ordering the raw materials. We had the GNS, the 190. We already had that, obviously.
We were going to make some vodka, and Rick said, hey, we're making sanitizer. What else do we need? And I'm like, okay. And literally, it was like 7:02. And I said, Rick, you know, honestly, the FDA hasn't authorized this yet. He goes, they just did. Well, my email had refreshed my phone. I said, let me check. I refreshed my phone. Boom, TTB gave their blessing, and that's who we answer to for tax purposes, obviously. FDA gave their blessing if you follow the WHO recipe to a T. So, luckily, everything being online, I'm like, this, all right, Rick, here's what I need. I bet by 7:30 he called me back and says, okay, it'll be there tomorrow. So we started next day.
Oh, that's awesome. How much did you guys wind up? Are you guys still making it, and how much did you guys wind up doing in the first round?
We are still making it. The first week, we made what we call small batches, 200 gallons at a time, and we gave most of it away the first week. Basically, not a lot of questions. If you needed some, and then it spread from there, you know, the concentric circle, Rochelle, and then it went to the surrounding towns and a few more surrounding towns. That lasted about a week, to about that Saturday, Sunday. Then we realized that we had so many phone calls. We had literally hundreds, if not thousands of phone calls from across the United States. And so we just said, by that Saturday,
Yep.
we just started making it in 250-gallon totes. And we just started selling it at 250 gallons because it said, what size container do you have? And I said, well, I got 250-gallon totes. And the people would say, I'll take it. So we said, okay. So then we started putting it in 5-gallon buckets. And then, luckily, we had 20,000 of these in stock, this size bottle. So we made 20,000 of those.
Yes, we did.
And they sold out in about a week.
Yep.
So then, luckily, we got another 20,000 of these. It was very lucky, extremely lucky.
Well, we had a lot of phone calls by Rick.
A lot of phone calls.
To the bottle supplier and the cork supplier, and we modified the bottling line, you know, and we basically worked, 2-3 weeks straight. I mean, no weekends off, and we finally started having some people come in, but we just did as much as we could, you know.
We hired a lot of, the students were off school, so we hired a lot of FFA students because one of my workers on the farm was a retired ag teacher. So he had a lot of contacts with FFA students. So we hired a lot of farm kids, and they come in and help work. Basically, the only requirement did you have some common sense, and could you drive a forklift?
Yep. And then towards the end, we had some college interns.
Yes.
And they learned the distillation columns. We also had a school teacher that was off. When he could be off, he would watch a still for me at night. So we were running the still probably 20 hours out of the day, maybe 24, which with my background, I'm used to a 24/7 op. And so we were running about 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. We did try to take Sundays off the best we could, but towards the end, it worked out great. Everybody did. They learned really, really quickly. It was really, really, it was a busy time, an exciting time, and a little bit fun.
Nice,
we,
nice.
we taught a lot of students how to distill.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys stepped up to the challenges. It's pretty cool. So, Rick, how has, as a distillery owner, how's COVID affected you? They're trying to shut you down.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we get a lot of phone calls from the city. We have a lot of the mayor comes in here a lot, the city manager comes in a lot, the police officers, some come. So we have a lot of support, but we also know that they have a job to do. So they will inform us what the governor's doing, but they also will tell us what they're going to enforce. And we had the state's attorney in here the other night, I think on Friday night, the county, state's attorney, right? Anyway, he was in here, and he kind of said, what he will enforce and what he won't.
Right.
The health department has never been here, so it's a day by day. I am not going to kid you. It's a day by day. It's a little unnerving. Makes my wife a lot more nervous than I do, because I just come in and work and kind of see what's going to happen. But we've not had any trouble. Zero.
have you found the community is supporting you guys?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. The city, that's one of the reasons we're in Rochelle. The city was very easy to work with. When we built this facility, very easy to work with. We had the building inspector here daily. The city mayor was here almost weekly. So we had a lot of support from the community and the city managers, the police officers, the firemen. It's been a good community
Very supportive.
effort. Yeah.
All right, let's step into the next spirit, which is the gin. So tell me what's different about your guys' gin?
The first thing I'll tell you is, honestly, I do not like a very strong, overpowering juniper taste. All right, so people think Christmas trees, when they think of gin. I don't like that. So
Thank the Lord.
yes, so what I've done, legally, it still has to be in there. However, I do not break the berry, and I only macerate the berries for about 1 hour at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I start the gin still up. So by doing that, you allow a lot of the other botanicals to come forward rather than be crushed down by that juniper berry. All right, so that's first and foremost. That's what I will say. I went for a light. Once again, in case you can't tell, we like sweet alcohols. This is a light, citrusy, sweet alcohol. It would be almost considered, they call it like an American style. But this is a complete recipe that I started developing down at Moonshine University. And our recipe, I had a partner. We had to partner up during this class, and she was really, really good. She could really get the smells, and then I could kind of get the flavors, and our gin won best taste of the class. So I took that recipe home here. I worked in I have a little lab in there. I worked in the lab for, I think I made 19 bad batches till I finally got it. And then number 20 is what you see here.
All right, so you call it, is there really a American style gin, or is that something that's
It's not an official style. There's a different style of gin, but if something is light and citrusy and a little sweet, that they're starting to kind of call that as an American style gin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yep.
So what am I going to be smelling on this then? What's
A little bit of citrus, a little bit of sweet, and then obviously the juniper is going to be there.
Do you guys do any variants of this? Do you guys do a barrel aged or anything like that?
No, not at this time. Right now, we came up with the recipe. It does have to sit. You got to let it age for 5-6 weeks, and then we bottle it.
Speaking of barrels, where do you guys source your barrels from?
I have 2 places right now. One is a barrel mill out of Minnesota, and the other one is, we got a fan of the barrel mill over there. And then the other one is ISC, Independent Stave Company, out of Lebanon, Missouri. They're headquartered in Lebanon, Kentucky, but their craft division comes out of Lebanon, Missouri.
Do you guys have a special char that you guys have just for you, or?
Right now, I'm doing for the barrel mill is just standard number 3 char, okay? However, for ISC, they have what they call Cooper's Select. The wood has been aged for 24 months, and then it's been toasted, and then it's been charred. Then the toast is number 2 toast, and that is their Cooper's Select. That is the whole overall goal. That should also add to that sweetness, that toasting the barrel.
It sounds expensive. Is it more expensive?
It is, but not like you would think. Honestly, it's only like $20 more a barrel. However, if you buy 100 barrels, that starts to add up pretty quick.
Oh, right on, right on. So tell us, I think this is a perfect time. Tell us about this Moonshine University.
All right, so as I told you, I needed some polish. I can distill, I can ferment, that's my background. However, I wanted to make the flavors come out. I wanted to learn how these guys did this. And as I was looking for schools, I heard really good things about Moonshine University. Rick and Doris thought I was just making it up and just wanted to go party in Kentucky. I said, no, so I had them, they vetted it, and they said, yeah, that's actually one of the most vetted schools I've seen. So I went down there and made a lot of great contacts, a lot of people, fellow distillers, yeast people. That's where I met up with Wilderness Trails. I knew him from my previous career, and so we got to talk there, and that's where I truly learned the taste, the profile, what you're going for. In this industry, obviously flavor runs everything, and it starts off with quality, like Rick was saying, quality of the grain, quality of your equipment, quality of your fermentation, how tight a control do you have, even the quality of your barrel, all right? And so and all these things you go through, and it's a condensed crash course, it really is, and it's a long, long day, but you learn a lot, and like I said, you get so many contacts you get to make, you can call up if you have a question. This industry is awesome to be in. Everybody's open. I also toured 6 or 7 distilleries while I was down there, craft distilleries, and literally every single one opened the door up. Adam, here's how I do things. Here's why. If you have any questions, here. They were taking pictures. They were sending me, all their data sets on anything they've ever done, just so I have an idea when I started up what profile I was going for.
That's awesome. How long does it last?
So it's a 6-day course. And you have an optional couple days, like little tours. So I so I was gone for about 10 days. And then, you learn so much information. My binder is massive, and then all the thumb drives that go with it. And then you start going through it, and you're like, okay, yep. I'm like, oh wait, I forgot that. So it was really cool. Whoever taught that class, you had their contact information. Because you'll write yourself a note, but you're like, oh, I don't remember now, or wait, my notes aren't making sense.
Right on.
And you can contact those people, and that's where it's invaluable right there.
So Rick, as an owner, what part of the process do you take part in any of the process of distilling, or you're
I push all the buttons to make everything go fast. No, he does not allow me to push buttons.
Rick sometimes is a little impatient, all right, and doesn't like to wait for things to be done. And so I've asked Rick, please don't touch anything. He can bring me grain. You take the wet cake home, stuff like that, but I really, really, really don't want Rick pushing anything.
No, basically, what I do as kind of the general manager is if everybody that works for me is equally upset with me at the same exact moment, then I've done a good job. And then honest to God, I surround myself with people that don't agree with me, because then I got nothing. So I'm more the general manager. I do everything. I will do anything he asks. I will sweep the floors. I will bring in the grain. I will grind the grain. I'm here like last night. We still run a tasting room, so my wife and I will trade back and forth. She'll work a night, and then I work a night. So we're here with the customers. Like last night, we had a couple engineers here, and they wanted a tour. So sure enough, I gave them about a 20-minute tour. And then I had a couple people that one worked for Coca-Cola and one worked for Pepsi, and they wanted a tour. So I gave them a 20-minute tour. I got to kind of be a little careful because there's only 2 of us that work here at night, so I got to always be looking. But yeah, I do a little bit of everything.
Awesome. What's the ABV of this?
95 proof.
95 proof?
Yep.
Awesome.
Correct.
Take another taste of this. I do taste the juniper because I can't stand the taste of it, but this is delicious.
Thank you. And yeah, you have to have it in there legally, but it's I hope you find it very muted, and I hope some of the citrus and the sweetness is there, because that was the goal.
So out of the 3 that you guys put forward for today, what's your best seller?
Boy.
The last 10 days, it's been the Rye Whiskey. We sold 18 of them on Friday night.
Just that Friday night alone.
We sold 6 or 7 last night. Usually, if I can get them to taste it, they'll buy it. That's my biggest challenge, is to get people to taste any of these 3. Once they taste it, it's not just because they're here. It's because they like the flavor. And you ask me what I do, I give a lot of general things to my wife and myself, my son, my daughter, and Adam. It's not a big staff here. Is let's make something that appeals to everybody. Let's make our vodka sweet and smooth. Let's make our gin so that juniper berry doesn't just overpower everything. And then the last thing, let's make this so the rye doesn't overpower the sweetness of the corn. So I think I answered your question, but not sure. The rye whiskey right now is starting to take over. The vodka is the big seller. The gin is a tough sell because of the juniper.
It's a juniper, yeah.
People have got a bad connotation of
Gin's only about 3% of the market share nationwide, and it's growing in some part. The gin always kind of goes up and down, but it's never really become a huge seller. But that's what, and vodka is universal. That's the number one seller for everybody.
Let's talk about your logo and your bottle art. Who does that?
the logo was designed by Dusty Horner. They are they've been in this area for 6 generations, same as my family. So they've been around for a long time. They run the funeral home just literally across the street. He's an artist. Dusty Horner is one of 4 boys in the family, I believe. He's an artist. He works for Walt Disney, and he lives here in Rochelle. We're very fortunate to have him. It's a little disputed whether we went to him or he came to us, but I'll go with that. He came with us. That's fine. Very talented artist. He does a lot of the sculpture work for Walt Disney. He's one of 6 people in the whole world that does the sculpture work.
That's awesome.
Walt Disney. And we basically, the very first meeting we had with him, we said we wanted a female. That was about it. And then he went home and sketched, came back. He'd come in here at night to get his inspiration. He would go home and draw. We've got some information on just how long it took him. But it was a two-year process. Hundreds of sketches, if not thousands of different sketches. He would bring to us one at a time. We would critique them. And that's where I learned the phrase, "You cannot insult me," because that's exactly the same phrase that he used. He said, "You cannot insult me." And so my wife and I and my daughter primarily would critique it and say what we liked and what he was going to do. Actually, Adam was the model for it.
Yep.
Just a joke. Anyway.
Hilarious.
But yeah, just different things like that. It's like everything else was. It was an evolution. This whole building was an evolution. The flavors was an evolution. Everything was an evolution. It came with an idea, and then it grew from there.
All right, so I got a couple questions in chat that I've missed, but what size barrels do you guys use?
A 15-gallon for the rye. The bourbon is in 53-gallon barrels.
Okay, and then do you guys do a barrel strength rye yet?
We had a very limited release. It was a Back the Blue label, so showing support
Oh yeah, I
for
saw
our
that
police
on
force.
Facebook. Yeah.
That was at cast strength. We have a few bottles of that left. Like I said, it's limited release. I believe the proof on that was 108.6 proof. You really got the vanillins coming through. It was a really, really good product. But yeah, so we should have brought it. Do we have any bottles in here?
We have some behind the bar.
How much did you guys wind up selling for that limited release? Do you have any idea?
We sold 200 bottles in the first 4 hours, and since then, if I can promote it, I will sell that because it's a neat label. It's why we brought it out was Back the Blue.
Yeah. Tell us about the Back to Blue that you guys did it for.
It was my family's belief, and mine alone, that the police officers were getting a little bit shortchanged, not a little bit, a lot shortchanged. So we just felt like they needed some support.
Yeah.
They needed some support, and this was our way of supporting the police officers.
And how did the community handle it?
Very well,
Awesome.
extremely well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had the badge numbers. We'd write the badge numbers. We did the first 100 bottles, and then say they want a special badge number. It was like 1 of 100, 2 of 100, 3 obviously. And then once we ran out of the first 100 bottles, which was really the first 2 hours, then we'd write the badge number here of anybody that they wanted. It was extremely popular, a lot of fun. It was a crazy.
And what did that ABV come out at?
I thought it was 108.6 proof. Let me see here. Yep, 54.3% ABV.
Awesome.
Yeah, 108.6. Okay.
All right, guys, let's move on to the rye. Let's see what we got going on here. All right, so the rye is this is the first brown liquor you guys produce?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And tell me about the rye. What am I smelling right now?
So this rye is obviously 51% rye, but it's also got a lot of corn and a lot of wheat in it. It's very rare to have wheat in a rye. Okay. Wheat will add some softness and a little sweetness. Corn will add sweetness. We only age this at 7 months. You could really taste the sweetness, and so that is why we harvested half our barrels and turned this into what we call basically like our sweet rye. And our other half we're aging out so we can get more of a spicier rye. You can still taste the rye in here, but what I smell is a little bit of vanilla and a little bit. It almost pick up the corn, just a little bit, and so that was the target with this rye.
So did you grow the rye on the farm or?
Not yet. We soon will. I had a source for rye. We tried growing some rye. Rye is they call it the devil's grain.
It's the devil's grain.
It's tough
when
to
you
grow.
distill.
Yep. We're fortunate in this part of Illinois to have deep black soils. The rye gets too dang tall and it falls over. It's all small. So we tried. It didn't work that well. It fell over. It got into the soil. I didn't want that, so we had to source it from a local farmer that grew it on a lot less productive soil, which we've learned the hard way.
Actually, you want it on sandy soil.
You want it on sandy soil.
That's
basically.
crazy, but you want it on
You want to
sandy
shorten
soil.
that plant down a lot. So,
Are you guys going for the like an estate distillery where everything's growing on eventually, or are you
it
just,
could
Gin.
gin's gonna be difficult because you can't grow the juniper beer. So
Yeah.
we always say we'll be 90 to 95% homegrown material. Like the beer, obviously we can't grow. Well, we could grow the hops, but there's a lot of things we can't grow in the beer either.
Yeah.
So we'll be 90% of the raw material we were growing on the farm. I mean, we'll work towards doing more. It's just.
Do you find that when you're sourcing your own stuff, is it a little less expensive than bringing it in, or?
When we grow it ourselves?
Yeah, grow your.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a lot cheaper. Yeah, sure. And I got more control of it, but like when I get some other grains in, I still clean it really well at home before it's ground.
My biggest thing, I like the control, because I'd rather have Rick be in control of that storage process, making sure it goes through the dryer, making sure everything's right with it than just sourcing it. I'd much rather do that.
I just took a sip of this. This is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell a little story of how we discovered it. We were going to age it longer, but we were here one night.
And
Go ahead.
we maybe had a few cocktails, and it's actually James and Rick and I were talking, and said we should really just taste that. I said, probably hasn't been long enough. We should really do it. So I went and got a drill and drilled a hole in the barrel and popped a hole in it, and we all took some. We're like, whoo, that's pretty sweet, like physically sweet. And then all of a sudden Rick's like, we should harvest some of this right now, and then let the others age, get a little more spice on it. And that's what we did. So
this stuff is taken off then.
yes.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes.
It's really good. I mean, it's really. And again, when I drink it, I like it just on the rocks, and then is that first taste kind of conditions your taste buds, and the second sip, it tastes sweet. It's a weird phenomenon that's really good.
Especially you put some of this on ice.
Yeah.
Just on ice, and take that first little sip, and then
So
from then on.
how long did you guys age this for?
7 months.
7 months.
That's it.
Wow.
And so so again, great resources. I called. I know the guy used to run Woodford Reserve, all the barrel part, and I said, hey, what's going on with this? He's like, well, Adam, here's what happens. The rye has not fully taken over yet. It's still there. You can feel it. It's still there. But that sweetness of the corn and the softness of the wheat, they're combining. And he goes, right now, you have a nice, sweet product. And he's like, you can harvest it if you want to. And I said, I definitely do. He couldn't believe I put wheat in rye. And I said, well, it was an experiment. And so turned out it worked pretty good, you know.
So when you run an experimental batch, how big is the batch?
Honestly, depends on what we're doing,
Yeah.
you know. But you're talking a couple 100 gallons easy, and that's just experiment, and you're not sure. But we also want to make enough of it that we can sell it, because I would hate to have one barrel of a really good idea or a really good experiment, and then 3 years down the road, I tell Uncle Rick, hey, we got one barrel of this. So, we're still kind of playing around with our bourbon, and we're laying that up in different barrels, tweaking the recipe a little bit. And I want to say we have right at 285 barrel, 53 gallon barrels out there, and they all have their own little tweak. I was also told that every barrel puts its own spin on it. Every single barrel is a little different, and I didn't believe it until we started doing this. They are right. You can minute differences in every little barrel.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, this is very surprising to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys. We'll try the barrels a little bit later.
Do you guys do like any like white dog or anything like that?
You know what? The market for that it's not there. A lot of my distilling friends, what I was told is if you go south, you leave Southern Illinois, white dog's a big seller, especially a flavored.
Oh my God, when I went to the Dickel, when I was down there,
Yep.
everyone down there drinks a drink called Dickel Drop, which is like a Mountain Dew and white dog.
Really?
Yeah, at every bar I went to, everyone was ordering Dickel Drops.
I can see it. They said a lot of my friends are like, you get past even south of Springfield, it starts to pick up. But if you're north of Springfield, the market's just not there. People, they don't like the flavored moonshines. They don't. We talked about it, and it's really an easy thing to do. It's just if the market's not there, we can't do it. You know.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's wrap this up, folks. We're gonna take a little 5-minute break, and then we're gonna come back and do a quick beer review. If you guys got any questions, please feel free to reach out in top chat and send something out, and we'll get them answered. Okay? So give us about 5 minutes, and we'll be right back.
You asked very good questions.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right, guys, we're going to be back in a couple minutes. We're still pouring our sample beers, and we'll go over a review. Adam, you're
Adam,
up.
we're on.
All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about the delay.
Sorry.
We're gonna. A lot of people out there don't know or realize that Kennay Farms does do beer. They brew their own beer, and so while we're here and we got your attention, we're gonna go over a quick beer review and what they have going on. So real quick, do you guys fill growlers? You guys do growlers?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, what of those do you technically run? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
Well,
How much
How much are they?
How much are they?
Oh, in dollars, they're $25 if you bring the growler back, and they're 30 if it's a new growler.
Okay, awesome. You guys do a lot of growler business?
Yes, we do.
How about crawlers? Do you guys do crawlers?
No crawlers.
Okay, no crawlers, just growlers. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to do a flight of 4 beers real quick for you folks. We're going to do the first one. It's called Mother Hen, which is a Goza. And Goza, for those that don't realize it, it is a sour beer. Ooh, it's got a nice smell to it.
Tastes good.
It's got a little tartness to it. It's not way over the top. Gozas are usually a summer special beer. You know, a nice hot day, you can drink one. Tell me a little bit about this. How'd you guys come up with the names?
So that's actually cousin Aubrey does most of the names. Don Klatt, he does most of the brewing. I assist him on the brewing side, and he assists me on the distilling side. So Don will come up with the ingredients. He's kind of a creator. Sometimes he piggybacks off other recipes of other people, and then he'll tell Aubrey what's in it and what the flavor profile should be like. And then Aubrey mulls it over and talks with Rick and Doris, and then that's where they come up with all these fancy names. I think this one is the Farmer's Basket. Is that what this one's?
Yeah, that's the Farmer's Basket. I
Farmer's
mislabeled
Basket.
it as Mother Hen. So
Yeah.
the Farmer's Basket, it's 4.5 ABV. There's no listed IBUs on it, but it's not bitter at all, guys. So it's very, very refreshing, very easy on the palate. Under 5%, so it's usually sessionable, so you can drink a lot of it and still make it home. So. Do you guys happen to know? What kind of system you guys have downstairs?
It should be, I believe it's a 4-barrel. I think it's a 4-barrel system.
Okay.
It's 60 gallons. See, barrels always screw me up. In my world, barrels are 53 or 15, right?
Yeah.
In the brewing world, it's either 31, so that'd be a 2-barrel, or it's 15. I think it's 31, so it must be a 2 full-barrel system for beer barrels.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
You guys obviously, since people really don't know that you guys brew beer, you don't can to go, but is that in your future?
Cans?
Yeah.
You want a long answer or a short question? or a short answer?
Take as much time as you need.
No, it's not in the
Okay.
future.
All right.
Right now, we're so busy distilling.
Yeah, absolutely. Too many eggs in one basket. What else we got going on? When did you guys decide to go into beer? Is it?
We were about mid-build, so I'd say like 2017, 2018, we decided that, a certain percentage of people are not going to drink spirits, they're going to drink beer. So that's when the idea was born. It was in a construction meeting, and Adam just happened that Don Klatt is our beer, that's his old boss. And he said he makes really good beer. So we went to his house, and my wife and I and Adam, we sampled several of his beers, and we hired him basically that evening.
Oh, awesome. Was he a home brewer at the time, or is he?
Correct. Yep. He been home brewing 10, 15 years. I mean, it seems like forever, before it was even this popular as it is now. And so he knew a lot of the tricks, the trades. He knew a lot of people. And so I'm like, yeah, this guy's beer is really good. And Rick's right. We were mid-build, maybe 3/4 of the way through. And that's when Rick decided, he goes, hey, we should probably have a brewery too. And I'm like, oh boy, more permitting. And so the permitting people asked when we applied if we were currently brewing and distilling in the same space. And I said no. They're like, good, because that's a felony unless you do it right. So we found out that's why we have a fence between our brewery and the distillery. But they were great people to work with, TTB and Illinois State. You got to go through both hoops. We answered to 2 people, federal and state. And then once we got the permitting approved, I mean, we were starting to build it, and that's why it's right there on that north wall. Originally, that was going to be more storage space and maybe a bottling room space, but it's a brewery now.
My builders absolutely loved it when I came up with that idea.
With a change order. Yep.
So what would you say their percentage-wise breakdown of your beer to spirit sales?
It's amazing. It's at my tasting room behind us here, it's 50-50.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's amazing because we have a friendly competition between my brewer and my distiller. I'm telling you, it doesn't vary by 5% from night. If I have a huge crowd, it's virtually the same. If I have just a few people, it's the same. So in dollar amount, it's the same.
All right, I thought of something too. People out there don't know. Do you guys do food, or do you guys got food trucks come through here? Or?
Both.
Both.
We've got an agreement with every restaurant in town. There's 39 restaurants in town. Anybody can cater here. Anybody can deliver here. The other night, Friday night, I think we probably had 17 or 18 pizzas just from next door. I'm pointing next door. It's they brought up here probably 18 different
that's
pizzas,
awesome.
but other restaurants.
Want to give them a shout out? Who's the pizza?
Aldo's Pizzas, they're right next door. We share a wall with them.
Awesome.
They're fantastic pizzas, but we have an agreement with everybody in town,
Okay.
and we've had literally every caterer, every restaurant has delivered here. And a lot of people just bring in their own food,
Okay.
which is fine. We don't care.
A lot of places too, bars are dog friendly. Do you guys have patios?
Not really.
Not really. I mean, we have an outdoor patio. You have to come up through here.
Okay.
But we love dogs, but most people will just leave the dogs outside.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the next beer. This is going to be, I think, the Farmer's Daughter.
Farmer's Daughter.
Farmer's Daughter, which is an ale, an American blonde ale. No citrus. Nice head. A little bitterness there, and so it'll be low IBUs, folks. The ABV on this is 5.2, which is still out of the sessionable, but it's tasty. It's tasty.
And we serve that to a lot of people that are new to craft beers. They always ask, what's your lightest beer? And so that's one we always will start people off with who's never had a craft beer before.
That's awesome. Are you guys ever going to do any like barrel aging beers?
We've talked about it, yes, especially when we probably dump this next round of 15-gallon barrels, we'll probably put some beer in them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just to have it, just to try it, see, how it comes out.
This is the season. This is the season for it.
What would you put in, a stout or?
Yeah, probably, actually, Don makes a stout like a cherry jubilee. And it tastes like a chocolate covered cherry. ABV though is 10%, so you don't want to have very many of them.
No, it's okay, keep talking.
Well, yeah, but it's phenomenal. We'd like to see what a used like rye barrel would do to that, because that just seems like it would just be flavor on top of flavor. So
I think you might know where to get one of those right.
yeah, I think maybe I can find one.
That's awesome. So, do you guys run any specials on beers? Any special drink specials during the week or anything like that?
Not really, no.
Yeah,
We thought about it, but
saw you guys did the growler one time on
sometimes
Facebook.
we do.
Yeah.
But that's usually up to my daughter. She'll run a special. I really enjoy it when she doesn't tell me about the specials. It's always fun.
Surprise!
What does your daughter do for the company?
What does she do?
Yes.
She does literally everything. She does literally. She's like me.
Yeah.
She does literally everything, from the lighting to the music to the advertising to the Google searches to
Social media.
social media.
Social
Literally
media.
everything. That
Yeah, I mean, you guys are really on top of your social media. That's one of the few places that
Thank
I
you.
Thank you.
keep an eye on your social media, that you guys are constantly posting something.
Nice.
So,
You mean like on Friday night we had a big crowd, so she was behind the bar. She did what?
off topic, she sent me over a bunch of pictures. I posted them on Facebook. Who'd you get to take those pictures? Tell me about that. Those late night pictures of the place.
That was another evolution, like everything else is. He was actually a pretty well-renowned photographer. He found us, I'm not quite sure how, but he used to work for the White House. He worked there in the mid to late 70s, so he's kind of retired now. So he was the photographer for, I think, George Bush, the first George Bush at the
wow.
White House. So he came here one night and took pictures, started about midnight, and he was still here.
Did he approach you guys, or you guys approach him?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
And that's not a small.
They've turned out phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
He was here one night, and I just have a good sense of knowing. I kind of talk to everybody, and if they, it's going to sound snobbish, but if there's something that we can maybe work together on, I'll start to drill down and ask a lot of questions. I'm very good at asking questions.
Yeah.
And he just said, well, this is what I can do, and we can promote this. And I said, well, sure, so it's how a lot of things happen.
Yeah, right on. I think she gave me a series of 5. How many did you guys wind up with?
I'm sorry.
A series of like 5 pictures. She sent me. Did you guys have like?
There were hundreds of pictures.
Yeah.
He was across the street, and he was by the Rick House. He was downstairs. He was up here. Always at night. Started about midnight. I don't know why. Just the way he likes to shoot pictures.
Yeah, I had to bring that up because I was. It caught my eye when
They're very, very, very professional done photographs, and he did it. He didn't even charge us anything. It was nice.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Free is good. Free is good.
Free's good.
Yeah, free.
All right, so let's move on to the next beer that you guys have for us. It's going to be called the 9350 Irish Red. Tell me the story behind the name on that one.
Well, my daughter, we do farm, obviously, and it's her favorite tractor on the farm. It's the simplest tractor. It's one of my oldest tractors. Very few technologies on this plant. This tractor, she just enjoys the tractor. It's comfortable. She kind of grew up with that tractor, and so she named this beer after her favorite tractor on the farm.
Because it's a red tractor.
It's a red tractor.
This is an Irish red, so.
Yeah, this reminds me of Conway's Irish Ale from Great Lakes Brewing.
Okay.
Which is an Irish red, but it's not. It has no bitterness to it, which is, you know, it only comes out. They only turn it out maybe. It's like a 2-3 week season for them.
Really?
Yeah, or in March.
Okay.
It's got a picture of an old Irish cop on it. You know what I'm saying? So
That's fun.
Yeah,
That's
no,
pretty cool.
it's it reminds me exactly of that. So it's and then that's one of my favorites. This is actually awesome.
Good.
Very cool.
Well, thank you.
This is very good.
I'll make sure I tell Don.
There's no bitterness to this.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is the bee's knees. This is the one that I would come in and drink all the time.
It's one of our most popular. It's one we almost always have on tap.
What's
And
the
we-
ABV in this one, Gus?
The ABV on that is 5.3. It's going to be low ABU. I would say under 20 easily, if any at all.
It's really good.
All right. And let's finish it off, and we'll go with which one? This one is the Hefeweizen, the Mother Hen Hefeweizen, which is still a little Hefeweizen season right now, so. Oh, wow, it's got a, Kara, what does this smell like to you?
I like that. It says strawberries and raspberry.
Yeah, it's strawberries and raspberry. It has a very berry nose to it. It's almost like a delicious perfume, not an obnoxious perfume. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
Wow, that is good too. That is very good. The nose on this is top notch. Almost tart. A
Yeah.
little tartness
See,
on
this tastes more like the Goza to me.
There's a chance they got flipped.
Yeah, it might have gotten mixed up.
Yep.
I think number one's number 4.
Yeah. Number 1 is the Mother Hen.
Yeah.
Number 4 is the Goza.
Yeah, so our bartender mixed us up. So
We'll just blame Rick. We blame
Yeah.
Rick. When anything goes wrong, it was
blame Rick.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the nose on this is incredible. So
Yes. And to make the beer sour, you got to drop the pH. Typically, you use bacteria. Okay, you purposely infect yourself, which is a huge no-no. However, we are using a new style of yeast, brand new to the industry, and the yeast themselves can make the lactic acid to drop the pH
okay,
down.
so it's like a kettle sour.
Yeah, and so yeah, it does it all itself, and it's amazing that when we first started making sours, Don had a big bag of bacteria. I'm like, what are you doing? And get that out of my distillery.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I'll make sure I follow protocol. I'm not going to let it get everywhere. But then he found this yeast from Lallemand, and that's the Goza right there. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's the Irish Red is my favorite. The Goza is the nose on it. I've never smelled anything this
Yes.
delicious.
There's one we haven't tried yet. It's called the Cakes on the Griddle. You would swear, absolutely swear, you're eating cotton candy.
Oh, really?
It's that good.
That's awesome.
When we get all done, though.
When we get done, yeah, it's got like a waffle.
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Next week we got. Hold on for a second. Let me say some proper goodbyes here. Adam Kennay, Rick Kennay, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
you for
Thank you.
your
You guys.
hospitality. You guys want to say any parting words to the audience out there?
Just thank you and thank Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee's been wonderful to us, and we really appreciate it.
And I'd also like to invite everybody watching to come down, take a tour. when we can give tours again, all right? And then come sample this stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, like I was telling them earlier, guys. You know, when I'm working at the store, they always used to be there for sampling, and I couldn't sample when I was working. So, but I had no idea how delicious their stuff is.
Thank you.
So definitely give them a shot. I hope you enjoyed the tasting. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I said, next week we got, let's see what I'm going to do. The next event is going to be Dovetail Brewing out of Chicago. Dovetail is known for their non-adjunct beers, so nice clean beers, Hefeweizens, lagers, Kolsch's, you know, German type stuff. They're #1 with that, so swing by the Hy-Vee Wine and Spirits or the Dovetail Brewery and pick up your sample 4-pack for next week, which is Sunday, December 13th. And we will be there at 2 p.m. Central, and we will go from there, folks. All right, thank you very much for showing up, and we'll talk to you soon.